Now, I know yourself were displaced for decades. Your father, a renowned poet, was forced into labor camps. You experienced the humiliation and the degradation of what it's like to be a refugee in your own country. Can you talk to me about what does home mean to you and why home is so important for refugees?
Personally, I don't have a place I can call home. The year I was born, my father was exiled, and that exile lasted 20 years. But more than that, we never know that will finish. The sense of home simply is not there. Home is some place you're familiar with. You have your memory or your parents or neighborhood or one street or one tree or in the modern time, I think if we talk about home, the home should be, we still have trust of humanity. Humanity should be a home. But in the reality, 65 million people lost their home, being forced out. They used to have a peaceful life. They used to have a place they can associate with. It can be very poor, can be very remote, but something familiar. They feel safe because for generations they speak same language, they have their neighborhood, they have their own religion, and none of them, not even one refugee, won't leave their home.
How do we go from the darkness that we are now, where we've dehumanized refugees and we've militarized our response, to one where we reclaim our shared humanity and start seeing them as human beings? How do we use art? How do we use story? How do we do that? Because right now, a lot of people out there feel really helpless and powerless to see how far we've lost our way.
Of course, we need a consciousness, social consciousness, a political consciousness. We need a civil act. We need change the policy. But all those are really start with consciousness of, to be aware what is really happening.
You say there are solutions, but I don't see them offering any. Why?
I think if I would blame individuals like us. We don't make enough effort. We are taking so-called liberty as granted, which is empty words. We give up the fight. We give up, generally in the West, people think they have a freedom or democracy which guarantee them to protect the very basic values, but which is not true. I think we sacrifice those values, and politicians are elected. We give up those fight.
Why do we give them up?
Selfish and short-minded, or careless, or ignorance, or simply being not well informed, because the modern media also works for the power structure. So many information simply are not being shared or not give a balanced view.
We want open borders for trade, but we don't want open human flow. How do you make sense of that, and what do you think of that?
I think it still come out from we are in 21st century, still come out with this kind of old thinking of the national, the Cold War thinking, the American first. Yeah. That's perfect example when you have a president say, one nation, he present first. What does that mean? So all those set up this anti-intellectual. He simply, politicians use the weakness of the mass public selfishness or just trying to divide people, and use that tactic to get more popular votes. So if you have a politician globally play that with nationality or race or religion, and you will never have peace. This has been proved in the past, and still playing very strong in today's politics. So that's why we have to always to go back to humanity, to see humanity as one, or human rights as one. Anybody's rights being violated, that means we all get hurt. This have to repeatedly.
So how do we claim it back? How do we tell a different story? like your film tells. Like,
It's not easy because we're language, vocabularies are borrowed from the existing language.
Yeah.
So how do you create it? That's why art is important, because art is dealing with essential vocabularies and languages, but most art are corrupted, only product of the market. So, creativity can be powerful, but creativity is rare.
How do you think art can help us reconnect to this shared humanity you talk about? What's the power of art and poetry and storytelling to do this?
The power of art, or if we can call it power of art, is open up our consciousness and make judgment with our own emotions and feelings, to give a definition of a new definition, and not to take the old answer. So those are the power. But even by doing that, and it's very few people are trained to understand those kind of effort. So that's why all those tragic, in obviously wrong sense, is still happening and all the time. But the only thing I can say is you have to constantly make this kind of effort. It's not just for somebody else, it's for your own survival, your own intellectual survival, and for your own benefit.
What can people practically do? Because for a lot of the people that they're looking at this and their heart is aching at what is happening here in Australia and globally, but they feel powerless. They feel like they're up against the machine.
If you feel powerless, or you feel this not possibility, you're already being victimized. Because here's the universe and here's you. When you're alive, you make all your judgment, and you're only one response to the value of your life. And it's so simple. So of course we all can do something. Every day we can do something. You don't have to benefit the universe, but you can benefit your neighbors or someone you know. And that kind of act can really affect everybody. If you're afraid of that, then how can you really start? It's not possible.
I wonder, what is your opinion on us taking refugees and dumping them in poor countries to torture them? And what do you think of what we are doing to them?
I think any this sort of thing to push a person who is seeking for safety is a criminal act, and it simply is criminal act against humanity. That's my opinion.
How do we get political change? You've talked about personal change. You've talked about the need to have open hearts and minds. And
change only come from crisis. So if crisis is not hard enough to hate everybody, the change will not come. That's a tragic logic,
One of the things that our government's done so successfully here is say these people are choosing. They're choosing to be a refugee. They're choosing to get on a boat.
People risk their life, and with not only the danger from the natural condition, but also the danger from to facing detention or facing endless struggle without nobody understand them. Who is going to take that journey? So this obviously is a lie. People seeking for prosperity has nothing wrong. It's basically human rights to choose a better place to develop themselves or for their children. But in the refugee cases, I think nobody would choose a place when they will become a refugee for 20 years, not even 10 years, not even 5 years, does not speak the same language, has to not practice their religion. Those people are, poor people. They want to have a job, which is natural, because that's human dignity, to have a job, to bring back money, to feed the child, rather than to accept some kind mercy from a certain strange government.
Thank you for taking the time with us. Thank you for your incredible art. And thank you for having, while it might just be who you are, thank you for having the courage and kindness to actually live your values. And you've done it with a great cost and a great risk to yourself. And just to know there is many people that have much love for you, because we need these sort of beacons of the best of who we can be. So thank you for being one of those people.
For your kind words.
Thank you, Ai Weiwei. Thank you.